In this video, I am going to show you the full quadratic formula and how to solve with the quadratic formula. Now, there is a song that you can sing to this. I'm not going to do you the honors of singing that song, but it kind of goes to the tune of Pop Goes the Weasel. X equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac. And that's actually the first thing that I'm going to do is find what is called the discriminant that goes underneath the radical. All of that is divided by 2a. And so honestly, the first thing that I would recommend that you do is you identify your a and b and c. And those are your coefficients in front of your square term, then your linear term, and then your constant term. So as I look at this, I'm going to write this down right underneath. 1x squared minus 2x and minus 8. And hopefully you'll be able to see your a and your b and your c a little more clearly. Now the number in front of x squared, even though it doesn't say it, is 1. You have one of those x squareds. And the number in front of the x term with no power, that's your linear term, you need to include the negative sign. And then also for your constant term, if it's a positive or negative, you want to leave these as they are, positive or negative, whatever number that you see. So the first thing I'm going to do is find what is called your discriminant, because this is what goes underneath of that radical. We're not going to put the radical yet, but that's what will go under the radical. So b squared, I have negative 2, we're going to square it. Then we're going to subtract 4 times my a of 1 times my c of negative 8. So negative 2 times negative 2, if you need your calculator, is going to be 4. And we're going to subtract 4 times 1 times negative 8. And I get negative 32. Now, subtracting a negative, we really are going to add. So I get 36 for that discriminant. Now, what I'm going to do is use this entire formula and plug in my a, b, c to the other pieces that I have. So x is equal to opposite of the sign of your b. So opposite of negative 2, notice how it says that negative? Negative 2 would mean opposite, meaning positive 2. Plus and minus the square root. Now, of the number you just found, this is going to go underneath that radical. All of that is going to be divided by 2 times our a term, or 2 times my a, which is 1. So I'm going to multiply that by 1. Okay, now we'll simplify here. Do you know what the square root of 36 is? If you don't, use your calculator, but hopefully you have a list of perfect squares that you can use. I normally tend to pass this out in my class. And it's just a sheet. And maybe this would be a handy list to have, but 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16, all the way up to 25, just kind of as a handy, convenient list that you can refer to as needed. Okay, now let's talk about this. We need to add and subtract the top before we divide by 2, because our formula is, right, oh, it's actually over here, I don't need to scroll down, all divided by 2a. And so what I really have is two different answers. 2 plus 6 and then divided by 2, and 2 minus 6 and then divided by 2. Well, what's 2 plus 6? That's 8. What's 8 divided by 2? I get an answer of 4. And 2 minus 6 would be negative 4. And then if we divide by 2, we get negative 2. So those are our two answers for where our parabola will cross our x-axis. And I want to show you, because this number was a perfect square, we could have factored. So we had x squared minus 2x minus 8. Can you tell me what two numbers multiply to make negative 8 and add to make negative 2? Multiply to make negative 8, add to make 2. How about a 2 and a 4? This is a 2, not a z. Now if my 4 was negative and my 2 was positive in my factors, negative 4 times 2 multiplies to make negative 8. Negative 4 plus 2 adds to make negative 2. How do we get these two answers? Well, by factoring, you set your factors equal to 0, and then you solve. And if I subtract 2 here, my solution is negative 2. So your solution is opposite of what you see in your factor. And then if I set this factor equal to 0 and I solve, I would add 4 to the other side, and this is how I get an answer of 4. So I want you to see that these two methods are the same answers you should get regardless of which method you use. Now, sometimes you can't factor, and so you have to do quadratic, especially if you get weird decimal answers. It would be hard to factor with decimals. I could imagine that would be difficult. But when this number is a perfect square, it means that you could have factored quickly and easily, probably quicker than using the quadratic formula. So I'm going to record a couple more videos of solving with quadratic formula completely, and hopefully it will start to make sense.